Good evening, everybody. Thank you for joining us today. This is Scott Wallace from An Executive Search. I just wanted to start this off by saying thank you to WeConnect, both Scott and Matt, for coming to us and reaching us about working with them on this event. I think that there's a lot of great information during this time of uncertainty that we can help provide our clients, both from a recruiting perspective as well from a support for government programs and funding. So without further ado, we'll just get straight into it. Matt, if you can go to the next slide, please. Just to cover sort of where we're at from an executive search and what we're seeing currently in the market. Obviously, as COVID started to set in and we went into emergency sort of semi-lockdown, there was about 8 to 10 weeks when there was a lot of uncertainty in the market and what we were having. There was a bit of a shortage of jobs, searches began to stop. And then what we're seeing more and more is as people got used to working and our clients got used to working from home, there was processes started to pick up again. And what we've really seen is we've seen a lot of roles starting to open up, particularly in the last 3 to 4 weeks. We started to pick up more searches. And so I think with what we're seeing at the executive level is strategies are changing, skill sets are needed, different skill sets are needed. And so that has become quite a focus for us working with clients, not only here in Japan, but being contacted from overseas. So just to cover off where our areas of specialization lie, again, we do commercial searches within sales and marketing for life science, manufacturing, luxury, renewable, as well as financial services, and then across all finance and HR. And we are seeing an influx of heads of finance and heads of HR searches coming up, in addition to country manager searches. And I would say particularly in the last 3 weeks, we've seen a dramatic increase. And part of that is, I think that as there's a little bit more clarity into the market, our clients are looking again to drive new strategies, bring in new ideas. And part of it, I think, is, again, them being able to work from home more and understanding how to work from home. And so the struggle as things normalized and people understood how to log on, how to not forget passwords, how to work together, it really started to pick up momentum. Matt, if you can go to the next slide, please. So another part of when we launched our brand in December, we partnered with a business called Global Perspectives, and part of our mission within An Executive has always been around helping our clients build strategies and execute on sustainability. And I think December 1st, we ended our first event with the last question of the event was, do you really think that focusing on sustainability is going to help retain or attract talent? And my response was a clear yes. And then, 6 months later, we have COVID. And what happens now, and when we're seeing things like work from home, it's become even more relevant. And we did with Global Perspectives, we did a sustainability event that we had scheduled 3 months in advance. I believe we had about 55 attendees, and it went from a live event to an online event as the government closed down any events that had over, I think it was 10 people. So we all scrambled to put it online. We were one of the first groups to go to an online event. But again, we were living sort of living the sustainability thing real time. And so we'll continue to do that going forward. So anybody who's on this event, we're going to be following up, and we'll be going to be sending you out some information, not only about some statistics and a survey that we've done at Enrolled that I can share around recruiting for you, but in the near future, more information around what we're going to be doing together with Global Perspectives for more sustainability events. something to watch for. Next slide, please. So recently, in world, from a mid-career recruitment perspective, we did a survey of 224 clients, both Japanese and global, and what we did is we were trying to get a sense of the sentiment for hiring across our clients. And what I want to do is just give you a couple, I think 3 different slides, 3 different statistics around what we're seeing in the market. I think we got this back. It's all pretty real time. The information just was published last week. And like I said, I'll follow up and I will send the full report over to everybody here on this call right now. But right here on this slide, what we see are the top 5 companies, not 5 companies, but industries that are continuing to recruit for mid-career. So consulting, construction, energy, financial services, insurance, healthcare, and pharmaceuticals. Those would be your top 5 right now from the 224 companies that we've surveyed that continue to hire. The colors indicate those, the dark blue is they're conducting recruitment. The light blue is conducting recruitment activities partially. So open to specific skill sets, potentially they've got some teams that they were looking at hiring before, partially been put on hold, but if somebody that was a superstar came up, they'd be interested to hire them, could get headcount. And then of course the gray would be freezing. So those would be, you can see consulting is at 100%. I think we can understand why in this current market where we're looking for new strategies, new ways to do things. And then you can see the bottom 5. I don't think there's much of a surprise here, but publishing, advertisement, retail, consumer goods, trade, tourism, and legal at the bottom. And obviously the tourism space and the retail space you hear more about, but has been hit dramatically. If we can go to the next slide, please. And so this is a breakdown of the difference between foreign businesses and Japanese businesses right now, and their sentiment for hiring. We have seen over the last number of years as the Japanese businesses have acquired a lot of businesses overseas, globalized here in Japan. The competition for talent, it used to be 2 different talent pools. It really has begun to mix. And from what we're seeing is that the Japanese businesses still have a high sentiment for continuing to hire, and far more than we're seeing in the foreign businesses right now. If we can go to the next slide. And then the final one is around where are the global headquarters. And so this is a bit of a mixed bag, but you see that the overall sentiment to hire is still higher in Asia. But if you break down to, there is specific strategies to go out and headcounts for specific roles. American businesses, so North American businesses would be leading the way from that sentiment. And then you get down Europe after that, and then remaining South American and African, Middle Eastern businesses. So that is just a quick snapshot of sort of what we're seeing from the executive side right now. Really over the last, the mid-recruitment really hasn't slowed. I mean, it's slowed down. You see the dramatic slowdown, but from a performance perspective for us at N-World, it has definitely stabilized. And we did see a big dip from for about 4 weeks on the executive side, but we're definitely seeing a lot more activity from that perspective right now as well. So like I said, I will follow up with those who are on this call, and we will send over the full survey, which is on our website as well, so you can take some time to have a look at that. If you have any questions at all, please feel free to follow up with me directly. But what I'd like to do is turn it over to Scott now, and he's going to go over from their side at We Connect, sort of the core information that we wanted to share with you today. So over to you, Scott.
Thanks, Mac. Good catch there. Thanks a lot, Scott, for the introduction and for inviting us to present today. And thanks to everyone watching. Thank you for attending. My name is Scott Smoller, CEO of WeConnect, and I'm here with my partner, Matthew Kyle, the Chief Commercial Officer of WeConnect. We've both been living in Japan now and working together for over a decade, and during this time have helped well over 500 companies get rid of their accounting, tax, and payroll frustration. Just a couple words about WeConnect. Our company is a leading accounting, tax, and payroll services firm for companies operating in Japan. The three main ways we are different from other accounting firms is one, we pride ourselves on providing practical solutions and explaining things in a way that makes sense. Two, we provide a completely bilingual service with native level English. And three, we really embrace technology, including being completely paperless, which is actually still really difficult to do in Japan. I won't go into the fine details of our services, but basically if you have any headaches with accounting, tax, or payroll, please feel free to contact us anytime. So without further ado, I'd like to pass the mic to Matthew, who will lead the discussion about what you came to hear, which is COVID-19 financial relief options. Before I do that, just a quick note, on the right side of your screen, you should see a Q&A bar. So throughout the course of the presentation, just feel free to ask any questions in that chat box, and then we'll cover all questions after the end of the presentation. Great, so Matthew, over to you.
Thanks, Scott. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Great. Yeah, so hey everyone, as Scott just mentioned, I've been working in this industry for over a decade now. And in my career, there really has never been such a confusion regarding government programs than the current situation. With that being said, I'm very happy to be able to share this information with everyone, as we feel it is quite timely and hopefully very helpful for the viewers. What we're going to share with you today is not just something we read on a website or heard from a government official. This webinar is built upon real-world experiences the WeConnect team has dealt with over the last 2 months. We have sat across from the loan officer at the Minato Kyakusho and the tax representatives at the tax office applying for these loans and relief programs. It is a very serious time, but despite the level of seriousness, I am very happy to share with you that we have noticed an unprecedented level of empathy from the government. There is real aid out there for those willing to apply for it, and it's not too late. WeConnect has helped companies as recently as yesterday take the appropriate steps to securing the relief they need. So, what is the basis for all of this help? The government basically has published 5 main reasons. Number one, to establish measures to prevent the spread of the coronavirus infection. Number 2, to maintain employment and continuity of business. Number 3, to support the recovery of public and private sector economic activity. Number 4, to build a strong economic infrastructure. And number 5, to prepare for the future. So there's basically 3 forms of aid that we have a good amount of experience helping our clients navigate. Number 1 is loans. Number 2 is employment subsidies. Number 3 is tax relief. And just to give you an overarching general foundational requirements for these types of relief, first for loans, you need to show 5 to 20% sales decline, period over period, and that's it's not a cut and dry calculation. There is some flexibility, but generally sales decline is necessary. Loans also absolutely require a local representative director to be registered in Japan, not overseas. Employment subsidy qualification starts by showing a 5% drop in sales as well. And tax relief, the qualification thresholds are a little bit higher. You need to show 20% to 50% plus drop in sales to start qualifying for the tax relief programs. So just to dive into the first one, loans. The loan landscape has been quite confusing over these past couple of months. In the beginning, there was a lot of application requirements. They have changed weekly, daily, and even the people that were interviewing companies for the loans weren't quite sure what to do. But it's gotten a lot better. Some of our potential clients even told us their current accountants up until even today have said that these programs are not active. So we know there's a lot of misinformation out there in terms of what people can and cannot do. I can tell you that we've secured more than 250 million yen in loans for our clients to date. And one of the easier loans to get is sponsored by the local municipality, which can deliver 5 to 25 million yen in loans. Depending on how much your sales have declined, will determine how much loan you can receive. And generally, to get the full support, you have to show 20% or more. These loans are for companies with less than 10 million yen in capital or less than 100 employees on staff in Japan. The award you apply at is the one your company is registered in. There's also available funds from the Shokochukin Bank, up to 2 trillion yen. Of course, that is a large number. This program is more for larger companies in need of relief. We are helping some companies get as much as 900 million yen, and we're going through the application process right now. But this is a slower moving process. Also, the Japan Federation of Credit Guarantee Corporations is offering loans up to 280 million yen. The Japan Finance Corporation is offering loans up to 30 million yen for first-time applicants. And up to 720 million yen for large organizations or companies that have worked with the Japan Finance Corporation before. And the Ministry of Commerce and Industry is also offering loans up to 300 million yen. So generally, you do need to show at least 5% decline in sales for one or more periods, whether actual or forecasted numbers. And in the case of the Ministry of Commerce, you need to show somewhere between 5 and 20% decline in sales. The programs where we're seeing the most success and the most progress so far are the Ward Office programs and the Japan Finance Corporation program, but the other ones are moving, just not as quickly as one may want or like. And then moving on to the employment subsidies and relief section, basically the 3 types of employment subsidies and relief we have experience with. There is a few more that I'll talk about, but the ones we have experience with are the unpaid leave subsidy, deferral of pension insurance premiums, basically the payment for that, and then deferral of labor insurance premium payments. So these are quite attractive, especially if you have a lot of employees on staff and they're not doing much. Then these can be very attractive. Also, just if you have a lot of employees on staff and you defer pension premiums and labor insurance premiums, that helps cash flow tremendously because those numbers can be quite big. So first, just to delve into the unpaid leave subsidy, the unpaid leave subsidy administered by the unemployment office is quite attractive for those companies that want to maintain a relationship with their employees through this crisis, while also receiving financial aid from the government to cover some of the costs. So what is unpaid leave? Unpaid leave is leave taken by employees at the request of the company. If the employee takes unpaid leave in this way, the company must pay the employee unpaid leave allowance. Thus, the name is quite confusing because you still need to pay them a statutory minimum allowance, even though they're on quote unquote unpaid leave. The allowance is now being subsidized at a greater rate than ever before to support companies affected by COVID-19. You can qualify by realizing 5% or more in sales decline for a period this year compared to last year. The total number of unpaid leave days need to be 2.5% or greater of the total number of working days across all employees for a month. And you must have a specific unpaid leave labor management agreement in place, and that needs to be signed by your employee representative, which was elected through a democratic process. So let's look kind of like what this really looks like in real yen terms to give you some real numbers. For the purpose of this example, we'd like to assume that a company has 10 employees, all earning 400,000 yen per month between April 2019 and March 2020. So how do we go about calculating what kind of subsidy you could receive? In the best case scenario, this is a best case scenario example, so it will vary a lot. But first, you calculate the total gross remuneration for the period of April 2019 to March 2020, which was the previous labor insurance fiscal year. That's why it's those months, and that gets you 48 million. Then you calculate the total working days for this period, which is 260. Then you calculate the average number of employees per month, which is 10. With these 3 figures, you can calculate what's called the daily wage rate by taking point A divided by point B divided by point C, and you get 18,462. Next, you're going to want to calculate the daily unpaid leave allowance by multiplying the daily wage rate by 60%. This is the statutory minimum, and you can pay more, but at 60%, you're going to get 11,077 yen. Then you're going to calculate the daily unpaid leave allowance covered by the subsidy by multiplying point E by 90%, which is 9,969. then everyone needs to realize that this subsidy isn't an infinite pool of money. There is a cap. So what you do is you compare point F, and if point F is greater than the cap, which is 8,330 yen, you can only use up to the cap per employee per day. Otherwise, you can use the figure which is calculated in point F. So just to do the quick math for you, if you had 10 employees all on unpaid leave in June, you could qualify for 1,832,600 yen in subsidies. So that's cash back in your pocket. But if you only put one employee on unpaid leave for the month, then you would only get 183,260 yen. This is quite a moving target. The Ministry of Health, Labor and Welfare have been making updates more than daily, almost more than once a day about all this stuff. And there have been some updates the past couple weeks. Basically, this special program will run through the end of June. It could be extended. On May 20th, they tried to make the application digital. In the morning of May 20th, it was digital, but then in the afternoon of May 20th, it was taken down because there was a bug. It is still down to my knowledge as of right now, but it could be going up as we speak. Then there is talk that the daily cap per day of 8,330 yen will be increased to 15,000 yen per day. Again, there's a lot of confusion in social media and the market about this. The actual update as of 30 minutes ago is the 15,000 yen cap probably will happen. Prime Minister Abe had proposed that to the Diet to increase it. The Diet members have come out in part publicly to say that they do not oppose this, but it is not official yet. We anticipate it becoming official June 12th and it to be retroactive for the previous months. But again, it's just not official yet, so we can't absolutely guarantee that this will happen. And then also, as of May 26th, any employees taking leave in this way to take care of children, the subsidy cap has been increased to 15,000 yen as of May 26th, so that is official. The calculation of the subsidy is slightly different, and the application process is slightly different, but that is also out there too. Okay. Then to move on, you can defer pension and labor insurance premiums. The options to do this have the same qualifications. You basically have to show a decline in sales of 20% or more compared with the same month last year. The premium payment due date falls between February 1st, 2020 and January 31st, 2021. An application should be submitted by the payment due date, but a grace period has been extended until the end of June 2020 for payments that may be overdue. So again, if you have a large company, maybe retail, maybe many stores across Japan, and you've put a lot of people on unpaid leave, or they're still working, and they're enrolled in labor insurance, and or you're paying pension premiums for them, this could be a big number, and so you can defer that so that you have a little bit relief on cash flow. So I definitely would suggest looking into this. Next, let's talk a little bit about tax and what's out there. Some of the tax programs are a little bit harder to qualify for, but some of them are nice. Some of them are bittersweet. First, the deferral of national and local tax payments. Basically, if you have a decrease in sales of 20% or more compared with that in the prior year, if you have a sincere intention of paying the taxes in the future, if you have no overdue taxes from prior years, and you submit an application within the time constraints, you can defer your tax payments. Even retroactive applications can be made if tax is unpaid as of today. Retroactive applications can generally be made 2 months from the due date, which means companies with a fiscal year end of December 31st, 2019 may still be able to apply. Of course, the application will need to go in soon, today, basically. But if you have a fiscal year end of December 31st or February or March or April, you still have some time to do this. So I would definitely say look into this if you meet the top qualifications. Then there is the refund by tax loss carryback. So for companies basically with a registered capital of 1 billion yen or less now, they can take loss from this fiscal year and apply it to the previous fiscal year and get a refund on tax paid. What's changed, this has always been an option, but what's changed because of coronavirus is now anyone with a registered capital of up to 1 billion yen can apply. Previously, it was only 100 million yen. So the scope of application has been increased, and that's what's changed because of coronavirus. Next, we have tax reduction for the capital investment of teleworking. So essentially, there is an option to reduce tax if there was a capital investment to support teleworking. Basically, if you have a registered capital of 100 million yen or less, you can apply, but the application process is quite administrative. So it would really only make sense to go through this if there was a clear benefit. Generally, what the benefit is you can apply 7 to 10% of your investment cost back to your profit up to an amount equal to 20% of your corporate tax at the end of the year on purchases of software, hardware, machinery, tools, furniture and fixtures, and or building equipment. So to kind of make this a little bit easier to understand, do a quick example. If you have invested 5 million yen in applicable assets to support teleworking, you can add back 350,000 to 500,000 yen to your profit after tax at the end of the year through the tax return process. So if you've made a considerable investment to basically adjust how your business works because of coronavirus, this could be something to look into. The application for this is a little more administrative than probably you would like. So you do need to make sure it'll be worth your time. First, you have to obtain a letter from the Bureau of Economy, Trade, and Industry by submitting an application along with a management improvement plan. And that management improvement plan has to be approved by the Small and Medium Enterprise Agency. So a few hurdles to jump through, but if you've made considerable investment, this is available to you. Next, this one is a little bittersweet, but if a company has experienced a decline in sales of 50% or more within a particular month, so March, April, May, June, and going forward, you can apply to change your consumption tax status to claim the consumption tax as revenue. So basically, if you're issuing invoices on all your sales, you're adding consumption tax 10%. If your sales have declined by 50% or more in a particular period, you can apply to essentially change your consumption tax and re-recognize that in your financials as uriage or gross sales, which is bittersweet but nice if you are in this unfortunate situation. Yes, and then finally, there are other smaller tax relief items that you may be interested in. As an individual, if you've purchased events to culture, arts, or sporting events and you give up your refund, you can deduct that of your individual tax return. Companies and individuals can apply for reduction in property tax imposed on depreciable assets and houses. And then there is tax exemption of stamp duty on loan contracts between public and private financial institutions and companies out there for you. So basically, that's all we have to share with you today in terms of the plans available. There are some other plans, but we feel that through our experience in Japan and helping our clients, these are the ones that are really moving forward. There are plenty more loan programs as well, but generally the ones I showed you are the ones that we're helping our clients with and that are moving forward. One thing before we go to Q&A is if you've learned anything on this webinar so far that you think is actionable or helpful or just allows you to have a better, more transparent understanding of what's going on, we would love for you to take a survey about this webinar. So essentially with your smartphone, you can capture this QR code, or I believe Scott has published a link to the survey in the Q&A section. So if you can, after the webinar, I think it's a pretty quick survey. If you feel comfortable, we'd love for you to take that so we can better understand how we've done and how we can plan for the future. Also, everything in this webinar can be found on our resources section, so goweconnect.com/resources, and then you can contact us at goweconnect.com/Japan/contact if you have any questions about these programs. And if you need any help navigating these, we're happy to share our experience. So I think we're ready to go into Q&A. Scott, do you see any questions there for us to potentially answer or talk about?
Yeah, we've got one question here. So to those that are, we're shifting gears to the Q&A. So there's one question here. If you do have any questions, please feel free, type them in and I'll read them out. The first one is, may special period extend longer after June 30th?
It could. There's no official word on it yet. As we all know, the state of emergency has been lifted, so that may have an effect on how these programs remain generous or not. The answer is we don't know, but it could not. We hope that it is, but we're not sure.
And right now we're just waiting to see if anybody wants to type in another question here.
Sure. Yeah, so I mean, just as if there's any other questions, please let us know. But we've been, as I said in the beginning, we've gone to the meetings with the tax office, we've gone to the meetings for the loan applications with our clients, and the level of empathy, the level of help is nice. It's nice to see. We're all probably very familiar about how Japan works through application processes where they're long checklists, and you got to get all the requirements in before anything moves forward. I mean, don't get me wrong, that is the case, but I was part of a few meetings where all of the check boxes were not checked, and during the meeting, the government was able to work through checking those boxes in the meeting. So I think that's unprecedented in my experience in terms of working through an application process with government entities, with quasi-government entities, even with private institutions. It's been nice to see. Have there been any other questions that come through?
Not yet, sorry.
It's okay. Yeah, so I mean, I'm Scott. Did you have any questions about the presentation?
I mean, it's a lot to digest. You know what I mean? I mean, there's just a lot of information. So from your side, I mean, you've made these presentations numerous times. What are some of the frequently asked questions that you get?
Yeah, so sorry, Scott Smoller, did you have something to say?
No, I'm good.
Yeah, so a lot of the questions come around, like, so one of the questions we got before about the unpaid leave subsidy was, if we put people on like half day instead of full day or full week or full month, can we still apply? The answer is, we've heard in theory that you can, but we haven't in practice seen anybody apply for the half day type of leave. But we've heard in theory it could be possible. I think a lot of people also ask, like, obviously companies are different sizes, and then people felt in other times we've done this presentation that a lot of these programs are for more for SMEs instead of larger companies. I would say probably more than half are for SMEs, but there are options for very large companies. I mean, for instance, just going back to the loan section here, basically the Shoko Chukin Bank has quite a high maximum loan number there. So if you're a large company and need a large loan, I would say go to Shoko Chukin Bank. And then, I mean, the Japan Finance Corporation, they've been very good at moving things along. As I mentioned, like the Ministry of Commerce and Industry, things are going slow there. Japan Federation of Credit Guarantee Corporations has been going slow. But the Japan Finance Corporation has a pretty high maximum too, 720 million. But if you're a first-time applicant, you may only be able to get 30 million. So that's why it's, for some of our clients, it hasn't been that attractive, because for them, they need more than 30 million. But for some, 30 million has been, can extend, give them 9 months of runway, depending on how many staff they have or what their expenses are. So Yeah, I mean, I think those are some of the questions that we've gotten before.
Hey, Matt, I think we have some questions that came in, so I don't know if you want to.
Okay, sure.
Yep. If the headquarters of the company outside Japan are eligible to get a loan?
Is the question, can headquarters get a loan?
If the headquarters of the company outside of Japan, so I think it's just so if the headquarters is outside of Japan, so it's an American business or a Canadian business, are they eligible to get a loan here in Japan?
Absolutely. For the loans, the Japan business will be reviewed, by itself. They won't take into account, well, at least in our experience, I mean, things are fluid, but in our experience, they're looking just at the Japan entity. So some companies have a special revenue recognition structure depending on their transfer pricing policies, where they may just be essentially a cost center and headquarters funds the business, and then they put a markup on the cost, and they're always turning a profit at the end of the year. So those kinds of structures, it is a little bit harder to qualify, not impossible, but harder to qualify and show the necessary drops in order to qualify for these things. But just having your headquarters overseas is not going to stop you. All of WeConnect's clients are headquartered overseas, every single one, except for a very select few large Japanese corporations that we work with on special projects. But 95% of our clients are headquartered overseas, and as long as you meet the requirements, they can get a loan.
Excellent. Thank you. I got another question here. Am I correct that the average salary is divided by number of working days, not calendar days?
For the unpaid leave calculation?
Exactly.
Yeah, so you have to start with the total gross remuneration for the last labor insurance fiscal year. Then you divide by total working days for that period, not calendar days.
All right, excellent. I got another one here for you. First, a comment: helpful ideas for relief. What is the fee structure for your support in these applications?
Right. So for loans, what we're doing is we basically work with you. We sign an NDA. We collect the information we need to make sure that there is options for you to move forward. So we basically work for you for free to make sure that there will be something that we can do. We don't want to just, when we first started putting this information together, it was back in March, and I called Scott and I was like, man, we got to do something. We got to do something to help these people. So we started with a post on our website, and we were just trying to organize, because it was so disorganized in beginning of March, as you can imagine. We were just trying to put everything on one page with links to all the application documents. Boom. Then, as we started to distribute that to our clients in our network, people were like, "We need help." I mean, like, this is great, but we need more help than just this post. So then we're like, okay, so now we need to go down the rabbit hole further. And then we started to help companies figure this stuff out. And so, I mean, it really started, we weren't charging anything. But then obviously, we also have a business to run, so we needed to put some fees on this stuff so that we could balance our time. And then finally, we arrived for loans, we arrived at 95,000 yen. Once we have a clear path forward, upfront fee for us to start. We'll fill out all the application for you. We'll turn it in, and then we take a success fee of 3.5% of the awarded loan amount. Now, if you're going to get a incredibly massive loan, we will fix the fee. but for most of our clients, that structure has made sense. For one of our clients, it did not make sense because they're going for 900 million yen, and we just felt bad about the fee. So we decided to fix the fee for them. Then for the employment subsidies, we charge 20,000 yen an hour to guide you through how to do this and make sure everything's right and cross your T's, dot your I's. And then if you need help for us to do more, if you have your own HR department and they just need a little bit of guidance, It'll be 5 hours of help A to Z for us to help you make sure you get this right. 20,000 yen hours, 120,000 yen. And then if you need us to help actually do the applications, then it becomes a little bit more expensive. And we can talk about that depending on how many employees you have. And then for tax, we charge 35,000 yen an hour for all the tax advice. But again, all of this stuff starts with signing an NDA and having conversations. We don't charge anything until there's a clear path forward, because, just to be transparent, we want to talk to people about this. We want to help them. And then when it makes sense, we do need to charge for our time to make it happen.
Excellent. We've got 4 more questions here. A bit of a rule. Some companies mention that the government reject their loans if they are part of a big corporation outside Japan, even if they are suffering in Japan. Have you heard of this?
I've not seen this. But again, we have 200 clients in Japan. We're not a representation of everything that's going on, but we have not seen the headquarters being like a detriment to the loan application process. But again, of all the loans, there's more institutions you can get loans from than what we've put here. So what I would say is, maybe you're talking to the wrong people, or maybe you're going at them in the wrong way. Even though these programs have checklists, we have noticed a certain approach works better than other approaches. So yeah, I would say I haven't seen that. All of our clients are moving forward just fine as long as they meet the requirements. We've gotten over 250 million yen secured thus far, waiting for cash. We got the first client that we helped got their cash yesterday in their bank. So it's happened.
Excellent. Our company met the sales requirements for unpaid leave subsidy in April only, but not in May, unfortunately. Or fortunately. Can we apply for the subsidy in June for April? I remember the authority looks at the sales records of the previous month of application.
I'm going to say yes, but I think it would be good if you could reach out, or we can have a one-on-one conversation about that. Happy to sign an NDA and confirm for you based on your actual situation. I'm going to say yes, but we listed the main qualification requirements. There are a few other qualification requirements that may change the subsidy amount, that may change the period. So I would say, if you could go to goweekconnect.com/Japan/contact and send us a quick email. Happy to set up a call with you tomorrow or Monday and understand your situation, and figure out what we can do. And I'm happy to have that conversation. Obviously, sign NDA, everything's for free until we have a clear path forward.
Excellent. More of a comment that was here, but somebody just expressing thanks for all of the useful information. Yeah, no, very. Next question would be, for the various private and public sector loans, what Japanese interest rates or interest rate ranges are being quoted?
Yeah. So the company that got their cash yesterday has 0.46% for the first year, no payments until June 2021. And I can't remember exactly off the top of my head, but the interest rate goes up a little bit after that, but it's like nothing. It's maybe 0.5 or 0.6. It's extremely attractive.
Excellent. All right. If your capital in Japan is superior to 400 million, can we apply for zero interest loans?
I would say yes, but we would have to sign an NDA. You'd have to share your gross revenue numbers for the last 17, 18 months. And then we can look, because there's just there's a lot of programs. There's honestly like 3,000 programs out there right now, and we could potentially show you some programs that could work. So I would say yes, but not. I'm sure there will be a lot of programs that will not work for them with that kind of capital.
Okay. If unpaid leave subsidy cap increased to 15,000 Japanese yen per day, shall we wait for applying until the Diet decides?
I would. It's a good question. I would. Good question. I would say that my personal opinion is not strong enough to share it with you. but I would say that June 12th at the latest, it's going to be official. And so what I do also feel, I feel 95% certain is that the 15,000 yen cap, when it's approved, will be retroactive. So if you've already applied, I would assume that there's going to be again more changes, but you could apply again to get the difference. But I'm sure that's going to be a really frustrating and disorganized process. So my opinion has just become stronger in my mind. So I would say probably applying after that would be best, but I'm not sure.
I think you did well. I was stumped on whether I should say diet or diet. So you're far beyond me on this one. So that's the last of the questions that we have there.
Okay.
I guess from my side, I just want to reiterate, really appreciate Matt, Scott, the work that you've done on this, the sentiment behind it, reaching out to people, helping people. Obviously, we need more of this. It's a difficult time. It's a challenging time. I know that from our side and our team side, we've been working work from home now for I don't know, almost 3 months, 2.5 months. We've been planning on working from home for the last year, so we've got a lot of things that we had in place prior to make it easier. So if anybody's looking for tips or experiences that we've done within our business, within our team, how that's worked out, Enroll's been fantastic as far as the technology piece and how we utilize that technology. Please feel free to reach out as well. If there's anything that we can do from a recruitment perspective as well. Obviously, we're here both from a mid-career, from a contracting perspective, RPO, so recruitment process outsourcing, having somebody sit on site managing your recruitment, or from an executive recruitment perspective. So we're end to end. So really appreciate, again, the time from We Connect. And thank you to everybody for joining. Thanks for the questions. If there's anything else that you need, please, again, feel free to reach out. We will be sending over to you the link to our survey, so people get a clear understanding of the mid-career recruitment market right now. And from Matt, from your side, these slides, one of the questions that came up, is this slide something, your slide deck, is it something that you share, or you prefer to have people come to you directly with questions?
Yeah, so we're happy to share it. If there's any situation that's company specific or individual specific, please feel free to reach out to us. We love talking to people on this because we realize no one knows what's going on really. So I would say that's cool. And then I would just like to reiterate, Enrolled put together a great survey about this webinar. So if you could, as a favor to me and Scott W and Scott S, could you fill out the survey and please give us your feedback. We will read every survey response and we will adjust for the future to make sure that we can deliver good content for you.
Awesome. Excellent. Well, everybody, maybe enjoy a beer, maybe a glass of wine.
I know I am.
I know what I'm doing next. So have a good weekend. Thanks again, Matt, Scott. We'll talk to you guys soon, and take care, everybody. Thank you. Stay safe.
Thanks, Scott.